killer. Jeff was a little boy who moved to a new home. The day he moved in, he was invited to a neighbor's birthday party, so he decided to take his brother Liu along with him. When Jeff and his brother were waiting at a bus stop, 3 teenagers attacked them. Jeff successfully defeated his attackers, and left them on the street with broken wrists and knife wounds. After this ordeal, Jeff soon realized that he actually enjoyed inflicting pain on others. It was always a feeling he had had inside him, but it only seemed to get stronger when he was provoked or angered. On a night soon after that, Jeff's mother was awakened by someone crying in the bathroom. When she entered the room, she found Jeff carving a permanent smile into his cheeks. He had also managed to cut out his eyelids, so that he could never sleep. Seeing that her son had gone insane, his mother ran from the room to wake up her husband. She stopped cold when she saw Jeff standing in the doorway, a knife clutched in his hand. "Mummy, you lied," was the last thing they ever heard. With his parents now dead, all that remained was his brother. Liu had woken up when he heard muffled sounds from his parents' bedroom. When he didn't hear anything else, he tried to go back to sleep, but couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. Before he could do anything, a hand clamped down over his mouth, and he felt a warm blade plunge into his stomach. Liu tried to escape his brother's grip, but it was already too late. The Keyhole. This legend involves a man who checked into a hotel for a few nights. After he obtained his room key, the woman at the front desk warned him that there was a door with no number on the way to his room. She explained that the locked room was used for storage, and she also warned him not to go into the room, or even look inside. The man, although intrigued, went straight to his room without asking any more questions, but by the second night, his curiosity had got the better of him. He tried turning the doorknob, but found it to be locked, just as the woman had claimed. Not to be deterred so easily, the man proceeded to peep through the keyhole. Beyond the door was what looked like a normal hotel room, exactly like his own. However, in the corner stood a very pale woman with her head resting against the wall opposite the door. Confused, the man returned to his room. On the third day, the man decided to look through the keyhole once more. This time, all he saw was the color red, nothing else, just a constant, deep shade of red. Maybe the woman had suspected that someone was spying on her, and had blocked it with something. The man decided that he would ask the woman at the front desk. She sighed, and asked if the man had looked through the keyhole. After he confirmed that he had, the woman proceeded to tell him the whole story. Many years ago, she said, a man had murdered his wife in that very room, and her ghost now haunts it. Her ghost is said to be very pale, except for her eyes, which are bloodshot red. The Rake. In 2003, in the Northeast United States, there was an incident involving a strange, human-like creature which attracted a lot of attention from local media. After the story initially broke, most online and written documents were mysteriously destroyed. Although these accounts were gone, sightings of the creature continued to become even more frequent. What's odd is that many people reacted differently to the creature. In fact, the emotions experienced ranged from traumatic levels of fright to an almost childlike sense of curiosity. The sightings continued, and so the hunt for more information began. Finally, in 2006, a collaboration of various researchers made a chilling discovery. They had unearthed nearly 24 documents dating from the 12th century to the present day, all of them describing various sightings of a creature called the Rake. The sighting that stood out the most was a woman's account that dated from the same year of the discovery. A synopsis is provided below. A woman awoke in the middle of the night, and accidentally ended up waking her husband as well. She apologized and her husband turned around to look at her. He gasped and immediately grabbed his wife, fearing for her safety. At the foot of their bed, sitting and facing away from them, was the infamous creature which was described as looking like a big, hairless dog. While the couple's eyes were still adjusting to the dark, the creature sprang up, and crouched less than a foot from the husband's face. It stared at him for a while, then made a dash for their children's bedrooms. The terrified couple immediately ran after it, fearing the worst for their children, but they were too late. They ran straight to their daughter's room, only to find her mutilated and close to death. As their daughter was dying, her final words were, "He is the rake." Then, as mysteriously as it had appeared, the rake disappeared, never to be seen again. Where Bad Kids Go. This creepypasta describes a photographer who decided to find out more about an old children's show that he used to watch as a child in wartime Lebanon. From what he remembers, the half-hour show relied on very graphic imagery and scare tactics to keep kids from misbehaving. He believes that the show was an attempt by the media to keep children in check, as the moral of every episode revolved around some strict ideology, such as bad kids stay up late, and bad kids steal food from the fridge at night. However, the one thing that the photographer remembered the most was the closing scene of every episode. It was the same every time. The camera would slowly zoom in towards an old, rusted iron door, and as it got closer, screams could be heard. The closer the camera got to the door, the louder and clearer the screams would get. When the screaming couldn't get any worse, an Arabic text reading, "That's where bad kids go," would pop up, thus signifying the end of the episode. Fast-forwarding to the present, somehow the photographer managed to track down the studio where the old show was filmed. Although the place looked like it had been abandoned for a long time, the infamous rusted door from his childhood was still there. He then discovered that, beyond the door lay a small room which was covered with traces of blood, feces, and bones. What scared him the most though was a caged microphone, which hung from the middle of the room. The Grifter. The Grifter is a horrific internet urban legend which was first posted in 2009. It's about a video clip which apparently is so disturbing that it traumatizes everyone who watches it. Apparently, the video clip featured scenes of dying children, excruciating screams, and close-ups of exorcisms and corpses. Although something like The Grifter would indeed be horrifying to watch, thankfully it's entirely a work of fiction. The person who started the legend admitted in 2009 that the so-called screenshots of the video were actually taken from the movie Little Oduck. Although most people now know that it's a hoax, it's still a terrifying story to tell around a campfire. Some have even gone the extra mile and recreated the video themselves in order to try and pass it off as the real thing.